Hello everyone, my name is Jack Stafford. I'm coming on here to talk about my story from really struggling with mental health issues to almost coming out the other end, as you were, to where I am today, being a personal trainer and doing something that I love. And it hasn't been an easy journey, but I wanted to come on here to share my story to give you guys hope that you can turn your situation around, because I never felt like you ever could. And I'm here today talking very openly about my mental health, which if you would have asked me that a couple of years ago, I would have thought you were talking about a different person completely. So my story, starts off when I went to school at end of sixth form. I started to change. I started to become very, very unhappy, and I'd always been an anxious boy. But going through school, I never really talked about it, as you don't when you're that age. And then as I came into university, my mental health got worse and worse. And the first 2 years passed, and before I knew it, I was turning to drugs and alcohol, substance abuse, in order to really suppress my emotions and my feelings. But at the time, I didn't realise this was me responding to how I was really feeling deep down, because I was so in denial of how I was really feeling. That was just like a coping mechanism. And then over time, I thought this was the new me, this was the new person. But I was extremely unhappy. I didn't really have many friends at university. I found it so difficult to socialise. I found it difficult to walk out my door sometimes. That is the state I was. I would sack off. I would not go to any social events. I would let my mates go, but I would always, stay at home, because I just couldn't bear the fact of seeing other people. I was so scared of everyone and everything. So every day was a strong battle, and every day was survival. And then it gets to the beginning of third year, and I started to go to the gym. Although I wasn't doing it on my own accord, my mates made me go. They made me sign up, and I didn't want to go. I'd never really stepped foot in a gym properly before, and then I went. And then as I went, the first 2 weeks were difficult, and then I started to go more and more, because I got so hooked on the feeling that it gave me coming out of the gym. And it was the only point in my life, in that moment, where I felt good. And I got hooked on this feeling. So I kept going and I kept going. Before I knew it, I was so hooked on the gym, because it was the only time in my life I felt good. And then over time, became my priority. And it was the only time in my life that gave me something I felt like I could have control over. Because when I was going through mental health issues, I felt like I had no control whatsoever over anything. And that's the thing about anxiety and depression. You feel life is so overwhelming, and you feel so sucked in, trapped by what life has to offer, and like what life is about. And once you're in that cycle, you constantly ruminate about what's wrong in your life, what's not going well. You never reflect on the positive. And exercise gave me that little platform. And then end of third year, I left university, got my degree, hated it, but I finished it. Worked on a farm, because I could not be around anyone. I found it really difficult to be around people, so I couldn't work in any hospitality or retail. Worked on a farm, and then I went travelling, because I needed to get away. And going travelling was such a blessing, because it really got me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. And I didn't really have a choice, because I was meeting new people most days, which was, in the UK, I would never have done. I had to meet these people, because I couldn't have just been a social recluse. So I would go and do that and meet new people, and kind of each day I started to build a bit more confidence with meeting all these new people. Still did not feel myself at all, but it was baby steps in the right direction. And then I was invited to some parties that my social anxiety at university would have just told me no, like, don't go, like, you're going to make a tit of yourself, you're going to just look stupid. All those fears you get about meeting new people when you do have anxiety, when you are depressed. You think everyone is judging you, so I couldn't go at university. I really struggled to, whereas I had to go when I went travelling. And then I realised I could do it, and it wasn't as bad as I originally thought it was. So that kind of gave me baby steps in the right direction. And then I came back from travelling, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I went back onto the farm. My mental health wasn't fully recovered, but then I realised I wanted to go into personal training, because fitness came into my life when I was so depressed. And I'm now at a point, where I'm living in London, and I'm happier than I've ever been. But that took a lot, and took me a while to get to this point. And every day, up until the point of getting therapy as well, was a huge challenge. I'd wake up in the morning, I would not want to get out of bed. I'd crawl out of bed and I'd speak to my housemates, my flatmates, and two of them is two of my really good mates. But I'd go down, play PlayStation. I wouldn't want to go to lectures because I wouldn't want to see anyone. I would time when I had to go to my lectures where I tried not to see as little people as I could, because I thought everyone was watching me, everyone was judging me. And when you're so on edge the whole time, you cannot relax. You think everyone's on you like a hawk. You can't be yourself. And you've got these thoughts in your head being like, oh, no one really wants to chat to you. No one wants to do this with you. You're not. And all these thoughts, they slowly grind you down. You think, what's the point of even going out? So every day that was happening, that was a battle. It gets worse and worse and worse, at the point where you actually don't want to exist on this planet. And I know how that feels like if you are suffering out there. I know how that feels. And I always used to think, I can never, this is what my life's going to be like. When I had my mental breakdowns, I used to think, why can't I just be happy again? Why can't I be my old self? Crying on my mum's shoulder. And when I kind of started to get therapy, I started to understand a little bit more what was going on inside of my head. And the great thing about therapy, guys, is if you open up to your friends or your family, I mean, that is amazing, and that's such courage in doing that. But therapy, they can really dive into your head and ask you questions and pick your brains and challenge your thoughts in different ways that your family and friends can't. And that really helps you understand what is going on inside your head. Because that's the thing with mental health and depression, anxiety, especially depression. Your head is a cloud. You do not know what is going on inside. You are so perplexed and just lost with everything. So the more inroads you make, the more you can kind of disperse that cloud and actually get to the bottom of what is really going on. And that really allowed me to kind of open up more and get more comfortable about getting my feelings out there. And all of this kind of act of motion creating momentum, while I initially started to write my thoughts out in my journal, I didn't have the courage at that time to speak to anyone about it. But just getting it out there created that motion, and I eventually opened up to my parents, and I eventually opened up to my sister, then my friends, then got therapy, and now I'm here talking so openly about it. So all I'm just saying is, there is always hope. It's never a matter of when. It's always a matter of when, sorry. It's never a matter of if. Always a matter of when. You just gotta fight every day. It's gotta come from within you. But just taking these little steps, creating that momentum, getting there, baby steps. And I always say to people, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And that quote by Churchill, when I watched The Darkest Hour, and that was when I was going through really bad depression, at the end of the film, that really struck out to me, because I was like, Jack, it is the courage to continue that counts. Like, you've got to fight. And now I'm coming out and looking back on my mental health journey, guys, that, these moments when you're struggling and you are in your lowest times, you learn so much about yourself. You learn that if you can fight your mental health issues every day, you are so resilient. You are strong every single day. So much more than we give ourselves credit for. You're pushing through adversity. You're living life with all these demons inside of your head. That is character building, and you come out of it the other end, and you actually realise the strength you have that you never thought you had. So all of this journey for me has been the biggest blessing, and it's all funny saying that in hindsight. I would never have said that in my time. I would have been the lowest low and not wanted to live, but it is there, and once you grab it and you do come out the other end, and I know you will look back and you will be stronger than ever, because you'll push forward and you'll use your time now of struggle, which is horrible at the moment. But once you do get out of it, you'll have such focus when you get out, and believing in yourself, that if you can overcome that period of your life where you're going through mental health issues, struggling every day, you can get through anything life throws at you. And I'm saying this to the bottom of my heart, ladies and gents, because that's where I was. I'm no one special. I'm an ordinary person, and I know I can do it. I have the belief, and I know you guys can do it. So always believe in yourself. If you ever want to message me on Instagram, BeFit and Beyond, I'm always open for a chat. It's something I'm so passionate about, giving people belief that there is always hope. And it's not a case of, oh, it's right for you to say, you know, you don't have mental health issues. I was like that. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know what you're going through. It's tough. But I promise you, keep fighting. And when you get through it, you'll be stronger than you ever know.